Sure. Because I want to say welcome to the webinar, the final steps of the CSRD report with Move to Impact, F19 and TD Cascade. And the main topic will be how to publish and communicate the report. Because why do we host this webinar together? We see like a lot of organizations underestimate the amount of work that the CSRD report itself is. So not just the preparation for the sustainability report, but also the how does it go to the government? How will your auditor check it? And also like you want to share it with stakeholders, both because in a compliance way, but also since you have a story to tell. Then we thought let's combine our forces and share some topics with you. So what are the webinar topics? Well, I'm from Move to Impact and I will talk about what are the 8 steps in order to prepare a CSRD report. Then Marcel will talk about the iXBRL tagging and the government submission. And Mark will talk about how to communicate your story both internally and externally. So to kick it off, I will dive into the essential steps to create a compliant and impactful CSRD report. But why will I talk about it? Because one of the co-founders of Move to Impact, and who are we? We are a team of both sustainability and data consultants that offer different solutions towards our clients, which are companies that needs to comply with the CSRD, SMEs that will also have to have a reporting requirement, not a requirement, but obligation towards their that their suppliers maybe ask for information since their suppliers are obligatory to report. We also help consultants. We have a certification program which starts again next month as well with Salta Group from NCOE. And auditors, since it's not just a regulation that is new for companies that have to create a sustainability report, but it's also new that auditors have to audit the report. So what do? We provide consulting where we help companies to prepare. We have tooling since we think organizations may want to do it themselves, or also other consultants want to use our tools in order to help their clients. And we provide training to the different client groups. So I see this. Wait, different. Sorry. Because what is the CSRD? Well, the CSRD is a regulation by the European Commission, which obligates organizations in the group with criteria they seek to set up a sustainability report. They cannot just think of what to put in the sustainability report themselves. They set up different standards for that. But when do you have to comply with CSRD? When you are a company that had to comply already with the NFRD, this non-financial reporting directive, which are the listed companies and financial institutions, or when you're a large company, which is 2 out of 3 criteria, when you're more than 250 employees, have more than 25 million balance sheet, and more than 50 million revenue. However, this is only for companies within the European Union. But to avoid that companies will go to the UK with their headquarters, the European Commission also decided that companies outside of the European Union, when they have more than 150 million turnover, just globally, and more than 40 million in the EU, they also need to comply with the CSRD from 2028 on.
Amber?
So, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Probably the same. Are you supposed to see your screen right now?
Yeah.
We can't see anything.
Okay, good. Now?
Now we see, yeah.
Thanks. So these companies have to comply with the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Well, what is this regulation about? It's about complying with the ESRS, the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, because companies have to be transparent about their impact on social and environmental factors. And so the European Financial Reporting Advisory Group, the EFRAG, set up reporting standards to which an organization has to report. The first two books are the general principles of this regulation and also how to report on a basic level about the organization. So what's the strategy, the business model, how did they conduct the double materiality analysis, which is an analysis that shows what kind of impact the organization has on environmental and social topics, but also what environmental and social topics influence the financial situation of the organization. If organizations do an analysis like that, they will identify, okay, which topics, both on environmental, social, governance topic, are relevant for the organization where they do cause positive or negative impact. So it's not just risk driven, but also opportunity driven. Well, as you can see, there are quite some environmental. It's about climate, about pollution, water and marine resources, biodiversity and ecosystems, and resource use and circular economy. So really see, okay, what's the ecological impact? Also talks about social factors, as in the own workforce, but also workers in the value chain, which is not just the supply chain, but also like your clients or the people living around the factory, for example, that work there. Then you have affected communities, which is the people that live around the factory, and the consumers and end users. So, well, sometimes you may sell a product, but also how do you treat the people that really use it? And furthermore, like business conduct, which is more about like corruption, bribery, political influence, supplier relations. So it's quite like if we talk about sustainability, a lot of people think about well, just CO2 and that's it. But the CSRD and thus the ESRS is really like sustainability in the most broad form that you can think about. So organizations have to create a report based on these reporting standards. But when? Well, the listed companies and the financial institutions have, well, the honor to have their first annual sustainability report ready in 2025 over the book year of 2024. So those companies are now already starting to collect data in order to report. The large companies that I told about before with the different criteria are obligatory to report in 2026 over 2025. So they still have time to prepare, but the data from 2025 needs to be included into their first report. Then a year later, the listed SMEs. Well, in the Netherlands, listed SMEs is not really a thing, but they have to report in 2027 over 2026. And then, like I said before, from 2028 on, the non-EU large corporates have to. What's important? Like I just talked about the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, the ESRS, but there will also be like sector-specific standards for example, the energy industry, the transport, fashion. So now we have the basic reporting requirements, but later, depending on the industry, other requirements will be added. So the amount of information in the report will increase the upcoming years. Like I said before, there is also assurance that needs to be taken place on this report. The first 3 years, this can be limited assurance. This is for both the auditor and for the company to really grow into the reporting to see, okay, when can we really give reasonable assurance? That's after the 3rd year. And if there are any questions about like the difference, is that limited assurance is more on the process, while reasonable assurance is that you can really trust what's in the report, that it's exactly the numbers. Okay, then what to do in order to prepare for the CSRD? At Move to Impact, we created our 8-step methodology in order to give a bit of a prediction on how this process works for both clients and consultants. And those 8 steps can be divided up in 3 phases: the design phase, the implementation phase, and a reporting phase. In the design phase, it's more about the organization realizing what needs to be in the report eventually, to really dive into, okay, what is the organization currently, and what will the sustainability report be about. In the implementation phase, it's more about, well, making sure that everything in the organization is like operationally ready in order to start reporting. And in the reporting phase, it's of course all about reporting. If I dive into the 8 steps, we start with the project preparation. So see, okay, who's on board in the project team, because this is not just a sustainability manager's show. Well, as I said before, the auditor needs to put a signature on it. So often the CFO is the one that's quite intensively involved, because, well, it becomes part of the management report. So both the financial statement and the sustainability report go into one big annual report. Then we have the current company KPI phase, where it's about what is already present in the organization. Like, what does the organization already report on, like for social factors, as in what's the HR, financial, but also do they already have sustainability reporting? What is like already there kind of data? And then it's time for the double materiality analysis, which is the analysis that I talked about before, where you really have to get involved with stakeholders from outside of the organization, but also do some research, as in, okay, what are competitors or other industry partners reporting about that they see as risk and opportunities. Because at the end of the double materiality analysis, it's important that you know the impact topics, the risk and opportunities related to the company, both on an impact way, so whether you have impact on ecological and social factors, or whether like the outside world impacts your organization in a financial way. So at the end of the design phase, you know what are the material topics for the organization. With those material topics, you can, like I showed before, the list of reporting standards, decide, okay, which of those books are relevant for the organization. So then the implementation phase starts, where you identify, okay, what are the exact reporting requirements that have to be in the report, and how are we going to prepare data collection for it. And you can think about, like, what are specific reporting requirements, talking about, okay, how many of your suppliers do have a code of conduct that they won't ever get negatively involved with human rights, or what is the amount of material that is used, and is this certified? Like, how sustainable can it be, like the process? So all those questions need to go, well, the data needs to be collected on this. And what makes it hard, like for financial information, all the data is often within the organization, but now with the CSRD and the ISRS, we really have to think of, okay, where do I get the data? Is this from suppliers, but even from suppliers of suppliers? So you get this whole like chain where everybody in the value chain is going to ask others for information in order to give the next one in the chain information, to really get like a transparent view on, in order to create this product or service, what is needed and what is the impact of that. Since the report is not just a one-time thing, but an annual report, we also think about, okay, how to make it like a continuous data collection. And you don't want to start like a project at the end of the year with all those like almost 1,100 data points. You kind of want to see how to incorporate this in the reporting processes. So then it's really talking about, okay, how to implement this reporting. So like people, planet, profits, environmental, social reporting into the organization. And then the reporting phase starts. Well, one of the obligations from the CSRD is that you can, well, prove that the management team is not just steering on financial indicators, but that they are aware of the material topics, and that they steer on the risks that they cause as an organization. So we advise to set up an impact dashboard where you have sustainability KPIs. So maybe one of the problems is like the diversity within your organization, that you have a dashboard where you can see, okay, how many new hires were, like what was the diverse ratio there. But you can also think about, okay, if you have saw in the materiality analysis that since your employees are flying a lot, that, okay, one of your objectives is to fly less. Now, put a KPI on the amount of travel by plane that is taken, and that you then as management team can monitor whether it decreases or not. So that's the impact dashboard, so really giving steering information on sustainability KPIs. And then we dive into the CSRD report, which is the final report based on the ESRS that I just talked about. And yeah, it's not just what we think of, oh, let's make a nice short introduction summary of our impact. No, it really asks you quite some things that you have to report on in a specific way with specific definitions. So that's where, well, Move to Impact is there to help. But how long does this take? Well, this project preparation, of course, depends on how many people you have available in the organization, but it shouldn't be too long, but it's more as in preparing people to know about the CSRD and seeing who needs to be involved. Then it's about a month to see, okay, what is already there, make sure that that the social, ecological, and financial vision of the organization is clear, and then starting the double materiality analysis. As you see, the double materiality analysis takes around 3 to 4 months. And this is due to the fact that you cannot just do it internally. You're dependent on stakeholders. Well, if you do it through surveys or interviews, like planning issues, it's quite a hassle to get a lot of respondents, and also, of course, do your benchmarking research in the beginning of next to it. Then it's all about making sure, okay, which ESRS requirements do we now have to comply with, so based on the materiality analysis, and then starting up your data collection. So setting up working groups that are going to well, set up the survey questions or reach out to suppliers or others where you need the information from. And as you can see, like the the continuous data collection, impact dashboard, and reporting arrows are arrows because we see that this is something that starts but will never stop. As in, you will start up data collection, but there is a phase in the CSRD, so you don't have to report on all the ESRS, like the reporting standards of the first year. So you can determine a priority there. But like I said, like the industry standards, maybe other regulations are coming up. So there will continuously be added the new data, but also the data that you talked about over book year 2025. You have to redo it in 2026, etc. Same for reporting on the sustainability KPIs in the impact dashboard phase. And the CSRD report, like it's setting up once, but like refreshing it every year, and maybe if some like policies changed or anything that adjustments need to be made. So that's all part of the CSRD report. Well, since we are here in a webinar to talk about the CSRD report, one of the things I wanted to tell is that before we jump into Marcel and Mark, is that, well, we created reporting templates that people have a bit of a basic way of how to start with the CSRD report. Since when you look at the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, it's quite intense, as in the knowledge of like the it's quite academic writing. And if you see it, you're like, okay, how do I start? So we set up reporting templates that it becomes more like a filling in exercise when you're dividing up the work within working groups or project teams, whatever you call it, in order to get started. Since this process, which I just showed you, is not just like a 2 or 3 month project, it's takes quite a year. And since the deadline is also coming closer every day, it's better start today than yesterday, than tomorrow, sorry. And yeah, so when you filled in the report templates, you kind of feel like, okay, but how do I get this towards the next phase, as in how to communicate about it and share it? So that is something that Marcel will tell you.
Yep. Well, thank you, Amber. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcel Rosenbrand, and I'm the founder of F19 Digital Reporting. What I want to talk with you about is the format you will have to file the CSRD report in, a format which is called inline XBRL. I will explain a little bit how this works, how you have to tag, how you have to file, and some extra information that is important to realize. But first, let's talk a little bit about F19 Digital Reporting. We're based in Eindhoven, a software company, and what we do is we develop a software platform that enables company to compose their annual reports in an online environment. So they can collaborate with co-creators from inside or from outside the organization and compose a report, make adjustments to the layout, to the content, and tag it if needed, and then publish it to what we call multiple channels. For example, a fully designed PDF or a full dynamic website or an inline XBRL publication. So what is inline XBRL? Inline XBRL is basically a combination of two coding formats. One is XHTML, that's the code in which websites are built. And the other code is called iXBRL, which stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language. And iXBRL is a code that is used for a long time already, mainly in the financial sector, for describing and exchanging financial data. So by combining those two coding formats, iXBRL and XHTML, you end up with a new format, and that is called inline XBRL. It's a lot of letters, but one back. There's one more thing I would like to say about it. It's the reason why they combine these codes is that you end up with a format that is both human readable and machine readable, because the XHTML takes care of the presentation, like a website also is a presentation, and the iXBRL takes care of the fact that it's machine readable. So software systems can read what is in the code, the financial or also non-financial data. So let's look at an example of this. And for that, I'll share my screen for this moment, because I would like to share with you quickly this one. This is a website of a company called Heijmans, and they already have to file in ESEF. They have to file in a format which is also in inline XBRL, because they are a listed company, and listed companies in Europe already have to file in this specific format, but then it is about their financial information, which is tagged with this XBRL code. So Heijmans is a company that has a full dynamic website of their report. They have also, of course, a PDF of their report. Plus, they have this ESEF report, which I can view in a special online viewer. But you can see over here, there's also a zip file available. And it is this zip file that is the file that you will have to deposit at the authorities. So in this case, they have to file it at the AFM because they are a listed company. Large companies will have to file their annual report at the Chamber of Commerce. And that's also what you will have to file. It will be a zip file containing multiple data elements, but one of those is an inline XBRL presentation. And this inline XBRL presentation I can watch now in this special viewer, which I'm opening right now. So what you're looking at is actually one large XHTML file, which I can scroll down. As I scroll down, you can see it is a full report containing the table of contents and all other content. There is navigation in here as well. So this is the human readable part. And now if I go to the annual statements, you can see if by clicking on these numbers, you see on the right side, you see appearing all kinds of extra information. That is the iXBRL information. So these numbers are tagged with iXBRL concepts. There is a taxonomy of all the concepts. There also will be a taxonomy for the CSRD concepts, and that is what you will tag your data with. In this case, I'm clicking on numbers, on figures, so you can see all kind of information about those figures on the right side. And if I scroll down and I go to the notes section, you can see that text can also be tagged. So this is an example of an inline XBRL file in which the financial data is tagged. Now later onwards, when CSRD is mandatory for your organization, you will also have to tag the elements in your report that are about CSRD, which can also be narratives or data points or figures. But it will be something like this. This is the end result that you will have to file. Okay, you can switch back to your screen, Amber. This was the example. So how does that work? Well, I can tell you a little bit how that works in our solution. In our solution, you can you can add multiple kinds of content and data, for example, Word and Excel files, and you compose your report. And then there is an interface and you can see and scroll through your full report. And then you can select two kinds of content elements, texts or data points or figures. And both you can tag. So in case, if you go to the next slide, you can see that you can tag and select a concept for a text, and that is called a block tag. So you can select, in F19, you can select pieces of text or multiple pieces of text and then add the right concept from the, in this case, CSRD taxonomy and add it to the report. Or in the next slide, you can see that you can also select numbers or rows or columns and then select the right concept and tag it. So it is a manual exercise to, in this case, to add the right concepts to the right elements in the report. And once you did so, you're good to go to publish it to inline XBRL. And when you publish it in F19, there's two options. You can either publish it directly to the zip file, which you have to file at, for example, Chamber of Commerce, or you can create an XBRL presentation in the viewer, which will be exactly the same then as the Heijmans example, in which you have both the human readable and the machine readable presentation in one overview. But there is an elephant in the room. Like Amber already mentioned, the CSRD information will be part of the full annual report. And like you just saw with the Heijmans example, in this full annual report, there's also financial statements. And what a lot of organizations and a lot of sustainability data platform vendors don't realize or do not communicate yet is that the end report will have to be tagged in two ways. Not only the CSRD non-financial data will have to be tagged, but as you can see in the next slide, also the financial data will have to be tagged. So the challenge for your organization is not only getting CSRD information out there in the right format. The challenge is bigger. The financial data also has to be tagged. In some cases, it's already a reality. For the listed companies, it is already a reality. But for the large companies in the Netherlands, in the Chamber of Commerce, the KVK Groot companies, they will have to electronically deposit their financial statements as well in this format. So you will need a solution that is capable of addressing both needs, both tagging the non-financial CSRD information and the financial data. This is an important thing to realize when you move further in your process. So it's very important to have your colleagues from finance also on board, because you have a kind of a similar challenge here. You have one report with two tagging taxonomies that have to be added to that. So what are my takeaways? Well, first of all, realize that inline XBRL is made to be human readable and machine readable. Human readable, so we can all understand it. Machine readable, so things like comparisons or analysis can be made much easier. It is not mandatory yet for CSRD because the full XBRL taxonomy is not published yet. The XBRL that has to be part of the ESAF has not been published yet, but it will be. So be prepared for that, and be aware that you have to collaborate with your financial colleagues, because in the same report they will have to take financial information in a similar way. So that's my contribution to this demo.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Amber. Hi, my name is Mark Hilhorst. I'm the Managing Director of TD Cascade. We are part of Total Design, and I would like to share a little bit to you on how to communicate all these efforts. And you've seen with the presentations from both Amber and Marcel, there's a lot of effort that goes into finding the data that you want to report on, and then collecting that data and make sure that you tag it correctly and can file it to the government. And we are then not finished, because we believe that you have a very good story to tell with that data as well. Maybe you can go to the next slide, Amber. So yeah, as I said, we are TD Cascade. We are part of Total Design. Total Design is the oldest design agency in the Netherlands since 1963. Known for its structured and systematic approach, and we at TD Cascade are focusing on the corporate reporting. You can go on, it's okay. We are helping companies tell their stories. It's more than just the regulation, it's more than compliance. How can you put all the efforts that you do in the transition of your company when it comes to the CSRD and collection of that data, and how can you take the adjustments that you put in your business processes towards communication tools. It's a business transformation that will allow for a lot of new insights, but also those insights are very interesting for stakeholders to hear and listen about. It's kind of a new story that you have to tell, and we would like to help you with telling that story. Compliance is the basis, but you get so much relevance out of it that you can communicate that again. On the next, just a little bit, we do that quite often. So last year we did about 75 reports. Half of those we do for listed companies, the other half for bigger corporations. A snapshot of our clients on the right. But we also see that with the CSRD, there's a big pool of potential clients and potential customers in the Netherlands and Belgium where we're active. And because I believe that in 2 years' time, almost 3,000 companies need to start reporting on the CSRD.
Just in the Netherlands.
Just in the Netherlands, indeed. So yeah, we think that when you do that and when you collect all that information and when you go through that transformation as a company to properly reflect your CSRD initiatives, you also have an opportunity for strategic communication about your company. And so on the one hand, you need to ensure that you report in an accurate and timely manner. And you need to make sure that you report that complex data in the right way. But at the same time, you have a report and that will allow you for additional and new communication tools. So it's something mandatory that you have to do, and you can turn it into an opportunity to talk to your different stakeholders in different ways. Because with this CSRD, we'll also see that there's different kind of people that come to look at your company. Whereas previously, it would have been people looking at your financial statements. We now also see that there's a lot of initiatives from potential new hires, current employees, but also government agencies that are interested in your company and its strategies. But how do you communicate to each of those groups? Do you communicate one message, or do you try and maximize the impact with targeted content for each of those groups? So how can you leverage your communication and the work that you've done in such a way that you can talk to all the different stakeholders that are interested in your company? If you can go to the next slide, Amber. Yeah, so we have, and we can immediately go to the next. I see that I think we have not, yeah, okay. And now we're starting with some examples. So Umicore is a Belgian company. You may know it, you may not, but they are, they're quite big polluter from Belgium. They are in mining and they're in reusing batteries and in those industries, there is a lot of, red flags if it comes to sustainability reporting. So they've tried to change the narrative. They wanted to be ahead. And what they have done is, they are very open about their story. And if we go to the next slide, they've taken the opportunity of CSRD and a value creation model to really start opening up to their stakeholders. You see here different members of the board that are being interviewed about a specific subject on the CSRD elements. And while they're being interviewed, we've also tried to help them and showing it as a magazine, so it's easier readable and easier and nicer for the eye to understand. And with that, we also try to make it more personable, so their story can be read by a lot more and different kind of people. And with that, I guess we want to show, and of course Umicore wants to show, and we help them showing, but they have knowledge, they make an impact, but they're open to communicate and they're open for that dialogue. On the next, we have Delta Fiber, and this is slightly different. They had a lot of content, but they didn't put it in one place yet. So what we've done is we've helped them to create more interactive content about their sustainability initiatives that they can share in different channels. So here you see the main page in their website, and on the mobile that will be a very interactive value creation model again. And if we go to the next slide, Amber, there's also a campaign which trying to make it a very human. But this content that they've created once, which is in support of their CSRD report, it is content that they share on their LinkedIn pages. It's on their other socials. It's that they use in a lot of different campaigns. So they've taken the opportunity of all the initiatives that they're doing around CSRD to create a communication platform and a toolkit to communicate more to their stakeholders. So this is something that you can do, and is everybody able to do that? There are all those companies that go through the motions of getting the CSRD data, that go to the motions of having to file that CSRD data with the Chamber of Commerce. Are they able to then also create a communication toolkit? We believe we can, because if we go to the next slide, I think we have a principle. We think that at Cascade, we get your CSRD data and we can help you with a web-first publication where you, together with us, can create the story that you want to tell and then decide, okay, is this something that I just want to do as a landing page? Do I want to talk about it in a magazine? How do I want to communicate on social media with it? But that one website is the basis, or actually the work that you have done on your CSRD report, that is the basis, because that CSRD report is structured in a certain way. I think that's on the next slide. Yeah, it's structured in such a way that you have some pillars that you want to communicate about. And those pillars in this instance would be talking about carbon emissions, talking about climate change, talking about social impact and good governance. And then, Amber, if you click through, once we select that and identify that those are the pillars, we also know that later on in the text, those same subjects are being discussed. And then we can go to the next slide also. And with that, we can create together with you the content tree of your narrative. So what are you going to talk about? First, very high level from your company's point of view, and then we can deep dive into those different pillars that you want to highlight. And if it's about carbon emissions, what are your objectives and what are the results and the progress? This is mentioned already in your first analysis. Then you talk about your approach there as well, and we can highlight it here in the report that we're going to create. You talk about your achievements, and in most cases there's also some examples that you want to talk about. So when we've got this narrative in place, we would like to help you with translating that to a almost a website, because it's built up in a specific way. If we go to the next slide, we can actually go and travel through that website. Yeah, it's working automatically. So here you see those 4 subjects. It is for the company client in this case, but because you talk about those subjects in a certain manner, we can help you highlight that information and guide you through creating such a landing page yourself. And once you have the landing page, you have also transformed your content from the basic PDF about for your CSRD into something that we can then translate into a magazine or into a social media post. And that's already on the next. Yeah. So for LinkedIn, and also another social media, of course. But in the end, we will hope to help you and give you a toolkit to unlock the potential of your CSRD journey. So that's my story in a nutshell. Hope that it helps. You're blocked, Amber.
Thank you, Marcel and Mark. If people have questions, please write them down in the chat so that we can go through them. But we hope that it was informative for the whole journey of what is needed in order to just get the information that needs to be in the CSRD report, then put it in inline XBRL, which is part of how to transfer it to the the government, as well as one of the requirements of the regulation as well. And like Mark said, if you're already did a lot of work on creating this, selecting the data, putting in work to type it up in a certain way that the auditor wants to see it, but you also want to communicate it, like Mark showed, in a more friendly way to tell your corporate story. So that was kind of the main message we want to give, that the CSRD is bringing a lot of work, but you can also do a lot of nice things with it. Let's see. Carmen, we hope that you have some ideas now to prepare internally better. Tools that could be used. Well, F19 is one, but we have tools in order to prepare you really for the content of the report. Monique said that recently the guidelines for the inline XBRL were published. Indeed. What are the advantages of the template of Move to Impact and the software of F19? The advantage of the template of Move to Impact is that, well, if you look at the ESRS, just as in the reporting standards text, it's quite hard to get started with, okay, how to work with that. So that's why we created the fill-in exercise. And F19 is where eventually the content that you need to put in your report will be in this digital reporting software, and that you can eventually, like he showed, create a report in there where you can export it as an inline XBRL, but also make a nice format about it, which can be in PDF, and then Mark takes on and takes out the nice things that the organization wants to tell. Do we get the presentation and recording afterwards? Yes. Emily says, how does the reporting language at F19 work together with a reporting company like Cascade? Marcel, Mark, who wants to answer this?
Well, sorry, it is already is a strong combination. Cascade can use F19 as a platform to build a beautiful media mix. So the customers use F19 to add the content, tag the content, and make adjustments to the content, etc. And then, well, Mark, you can tell better than I do, but then you can take over and work with our software.
Yeah, exactly. We then take the data that is in there because it's what we call a headless CMS, and our designers and our developers then create the website from there. So basically everything that we do, we use the content that you once put into F19, and then while you make changes to the content, it gets automatically updated also in the publications that you choose to publish via us.
So also PDF and a website PDF in iXBRL. Yeah.
Are there any other questions related to preparing for the CSRD until having this, well, glossy story? No. Well, if there are not any questions anymore, I want to thank you all for your attention. Like I said before, the YouTube link will be shared in order to, well, watch it back, and also for the people that subscribed and didn't show up, that they can watch it back. The slides will be part of this as well. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to Mark, Marcel, or me, depending on the topic you want to talk about. But for now, thanks for listening to the webinar, and enjoy your Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.